And within a year or so, '08 hit of the
Mhm.
time that I stopped working. And my husband lost his job also.
Hi everyone, happy Friday, Friday today. Elle Ballard is here with you today on our next podcast episode, and I have a special guest all the way from Houston with us today, Daphne. Hi, Daphne.
Hey, how you doing, Elle? How's it going?
Good, doing great. Good to see you.
Good to
And
see
thank
you
you for
too.
taking the time.
Oh, please. It was a pleasure. It's great talking to you.
A great conversation. Okay, so before we jump on, I want to introduce you properly first. So Daphne is a recovering life insurance agent on mission to connect 1 million women with their best financial life. Financial independence is a hot topic these days, and there are many different paths to take to get there. Daphne Jones, Marine podcaster, financial educator, and Bitcoin nerd, is encouraging Gen X women to design their version of financial self-dependence. Daphne believes that through tech, investing, and entrepreneurship, Gen X women can grow their wealth. Her podcast, books, and YouTuber channels are the perfect way to share her message and inspire others to take control of their finances. Oh, how timely this topic is.
Great. Glad I could be of service.
Yes, absolutely. So wonderful. I feel like this is an ever evolving topic, but now these days is really getting a lot of attention. This women and money dynamics, and so my first question that I love to ask is, how did you even start doing this, and why did you decide to do this?
I think they're okay. How did I get started? Um, Followed, kind of the pathway laid down by my parents. Went to school, stayed out of trouble. I went in the military and then went to college, and I got a job, pretty well paying job, right? Because that's what we were told to do. Got married. Waited till I got married to have kids. All that, again, the path you follow. I developed an illness, which I couldn't work. Basically, couldn't work. I had a disorder. I couldn't work. And within a year or so, '08 hit of the time that I stopped working, and my husband lost his job also. So if you kind of want to see a little bit of panic, led to higher income, well, just two wage earners, regardless of the level of income, but just two wage earners when the wages stop. And that exposes everything, because paychecks are do-overs. They're a salve. They come in, they fix stuff, and they cover up maybe some mistakes you've made, because you've always got some cash coming in. So when that happened, you kind of have to look over, as you're in that bit of survival mode. Well, gee, what could we have done better? And so that started reading, and I got on the self-development kick, because I was improving my health at the same time. And so that's where it started. And then how I got to this point with the YouTube channel and the podcast is I wanted to help others, as I said, to connect, 1 million women with their best financial lives, so that they can figure out their version of financial self-dependence, because it's different for everyone. Because what you may consider your dreams of where you're taking your business and so forth are a little different from this woman here, but they're both valid, and this is where I want to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to be able to send my daughters to college debt-free.
Yeah.
Whereas someone else may say, no, I want about 3 million when I'm 65.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I love. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. And I love your mission, connecting 1 million women. I love that.
Yes.
So thank you for doing that for women.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
This is time for us, right? For us to have this freedom. And I love how you said freedom, financial. stability, financial freedom looks different for different people and different paths. But at the end of the day, however it looks for us, I think moving towards that and having that, and you know, it's so key, so important.
It is.
Awesome. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing. I didn't know that part of your story. So that's that's definitely you know, the 2008. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move on to this next question. You know, there are so many beautiful lessons, and part of why I love to do this podcast interviews, to have these conversations with women, because each one of us has our own unique life experiences, inspirations, and lessons that we learn. So what was your biggest lesson or something you had to overcome when building a life or business as a woman?
Focus on the money. And when I say focus on the money, it's a view of it, period, short and long term. And focus on the money and multiple streams of income. I know that's a cliche. You hear it, and well, how do you really do that? But if you focus on the money, you begin to understand that you need multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
And respect the streams. Often, because as soon as you hear multiple streams of income, you often hear a little shade being thrown at being an employee. There is nothing wrong with being an employee. As a matter of fact, that's how most people do build wealth. It's through their job.
Yeah.
And so, and in focusing on your money, what you're doing is that you're trying to put the money to work, to waste as little as possible. And I consider waste consumer debt. I don't consider taking great trips, you know, getting that tomahawk ribeye. Those are not wastes.
Yeah.
Now, maybe if you're trying to finance that tomahawk ribeye, it might be a waste, but pampering yourself is not a waste. But to make effective use of the dollars that you're earning, because they do have to get to work for you, because things peter out. Even business owners have to pivot at times. So it's not just individuals with W-2 or 1099 income.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that. And business building is it's its own animal with its own challenges, and a lot of people are burned out too today.
Oh, sure.
Have these conversations on, you know, building business, pivoting during pandemic, pivoting post-pandemic. You know, how many businesses closed as well. I love that. Definitely for that, definitely agree with you. Having diversified income coming in, and you know, speaking about the banks, right? Would you agree that in different, like the recent story with the banks closing, right?
Well, we're living in what happens when you have just over a decade of loose money. Chickens do come home to roost. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons I like Bitcoin, but that can be another subject. But that's the whole thing. I think Grant Cardone put it best, that you need to make as much money as possible because things go bad.
Yeah.
And so that's with the multiple streams and different access. And when you focus on your money, you start learning some money basics. You know, you start reading podcasts, YouTube videos. You start getting an understanding of what's going on, because there are things beyond your control that are going to affect you and control you. Things you never had anything to do with it. It was not your idea to have 0% interest rates for the last 12 years. You did not come up with that idea. Elle did not make that decision. But Elle and her daughters and the rest of us have to live in what that brought to us. And now how are we going to navigate this? So again, that's the whole idea about focusing on your money and being financially self-dependent. Okay, now I can figure out something here. I got a rudder. We can figure this out.
Yeah. And I love that. And you know, today it's so interesting to me. Today we have access to a lot of the information. It's you know, it's easily attainable. You know, a lot of information out there, a lot of podcasts and this knowledge, and it's time and time it's been repeated. And And it's interesting how we still are not there. We are moving towards the right direction. There is definitely more money in abundance if we look
Oh yeah, plenty
all
of money
the
out there.
nations worldwide than it used to be, right? But it's still, we are still moving on to that. And that takes me to the next question, is the money stories. Is that because of our money stories that we have been telling ourselves that we need to heal, that we need to face, and how is that affecting our financial decisions? So
Well,
what is,
sure.
yeah, and what is your money story, maybe, if you wanted to share?
Well, I know the one that I have to work real hard and still have to go know it's there and then deal with it is the use of credit. Because for a long time I thought credit was money. Credit's not. It's debt, and it's not a great thing, particularly consumer debt. It's one thing to acquire debt for cash flowing real estate or for a piece of equipment that is going to generate funds for you. You bought a bulldozer, you went in on a truck that you're putting on the road. That is very different from buying shoes and purses and taking vacations. As I said, I'm not anti any of that stuff. I'm not the latte guy, but I really don't want you to finance that. You shouldn't finance your purse habit. That should be bought with cash. And even then, you need to choose what version of cash you're using. Are you using earnings, or are you using passive income and things of that nature? So that, to me, that's the one I had to work with, was that somehow you saw the credit was seen as an increase in income, and it's not, because it's a drag on income. It's a drag on how you can put the money to work. Many folks grow up, money was never openly discussed, which led to problems, particularly for us Gen Xers, because now our parents are older. Our parents are that silent generation. So the upper end of the cohort, like me, our parents are in their late 70s. And even for the guys that came in the 80s or so, their parents are still, they're still getting there. They're in their 60s and so forth. And okay. So, and that's going to be a different set of needs. So, and again, money's involved. I mean, money, I keep talking about money focus, because money touches everything. And it's, again, to have grown up where it's not discussed that much, or it's always a shortage, or you can't do this because of the money, we don't have enough, or it changes how you ask questions of yourself. It's instead of saying, how can I afford it, or how can I do this, you immediately go to, I can't. That's too much, or no way, that's not going to work. I'm not going to bring in a video editor because it costs. Right.
Can totally relate to the credit cards. I remember when I just came to this country, I had this this availability to me that I never had, right? So you tempted to, I can. So without understanding the full picture behind it, it's until I realized what that actually meant. But it's interesting. Also, definitely growing up, I actually grew up in a communist environment. So everything in regards to money, it's, having to unlearn things. It used to be, I remember that if someone bought something cheaper and reselling it, it used to be very wrong. It's almost too illegal, those kind of things. And when you grew up, when you're growing up with these beliefs and these things, they held you back later on, right? So having to unlearn this. So definitely the story that we grew up with in different environments. And I love having these conversations always, because the family, and I never also had conversation with my parents about money, because they just didn't know what they didn't know. They didn't know how to give it to me and how to probably manage it themselves. And so And so I love how the times is changing now, and we giving this opportunity, we having these conversations, you know, to this topic, to this subject, and women do need to have more, because we are, you know, the consumer market is a lot of women, you know, and we give it to our kids, and it's a fact when woman, if she is a CEO of the company, she, you know, she pays the employees as well,
Mhm.
compared to, you know, others. So it's a very interesting dynamics, and there's so much to be said, of course, and we can talk about this from different angles as well, taking this conversation. You know, we touched on the cultural upbringing for me, like where I grew up in a completely different environment, or the family. It's interesting how everyone has their own story. So I want to talk about, you mentioned parents, right? And
Mhm.
my parents are also in their mid-70s. So when we talk about, um, there are a lot of you know, ways, methods to invest and save, and I want to talk about savings versus investing for retirement, and what is the difference, as well.
Well, okay, let's take an employee, W-2 employee, or even a business owner who has set up some retirement plans. So the basic setup is that you put money in either pre or post tax, doesn't matter that much. And then you pick the vehicle that's going to help you, that's going to gain interest for you. So it might be mutual funds, ETFs, some people do stock, but some type of mixture of that, right? And your typical 401k. Okay. So you're subject to market forces, but then we all are.
Mhm.
Okay. And the money's growing, you're putting in the correct percentage for your age and so forth, and you're doing the adjusting for the retirement horizon. But the idea is that at some point you're going to convert those instruments into cash and start living off the cash. You're going to draw. I mean, we're required by law with funds. I think it's Israel. For instance, you have to start drawing. You must start drawing from your 401k funds at the age of 72 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're going to tax you like you're drawing the money anyway. So you might as well draw the money.
Yeah.
It can be a fine or a tax. So then you've converted. So those funds aren't necessarily growing ideally at the same rate they were before you converted into retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're living off savings. So when I say investing versus savings for retirement, I still recommend to clients that you max the 401k up to your match. If they're going to match you up to X amount of dollars a year, do so. It's free money. So that's fine. And it gets you into the habit of saving and so forth. But again, that in your money mix, that you have something else that generates that's a multiplier of income, cash flowing real estate, dividend stocks, possibly ownership of a business. And for folks who primarily are workers, who they're not entrepreneurial, they know it. They may be somewhat entrepreneurial within their jobs, but they like having a paycheck and benefits and things of that nature. You can buy an interest in a business. You can buy a business in a box, franchise. You can, like in real estate, if you don't necessarily want to be a landlord, you can be a hard money lender.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all this information comes from focusing on your money. If you getting out, talking, reading, so that sort of thing. So that's what I mean, savings versus investing for retirement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Because
yeah.
you don't want to continue to savings at some point you're drawing down. Whereas investing, you're still watching it grow, still watching it multiply. It's active.
Yeah. 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 I love that. And I love sharing all of those things. And I know Bitcoin could be part of it too. So without going into too much Bitcoin, and I know you have a lot of knowledge when it comes to Bitcoin. I don't even know where that stands right now.
Well, with Bitcoin, I think the last time I checked in the last few days, it's at 22,000.
22.
Okay, so you know it's gotten as high as 60. And pre-pandemic, it had gotten down to 5,000.
Yeah.
So
it's very risky.
Why it depends on why you're buying it. Again, that has to do, like, for instance, if you're in the market, are you simply buying stock again to hold, to watch growth and pull your dividends off? Or are you an options trader? And there's nothing wrong with that, because if you do that properly, I follow some folks on YouTube, and I've seen and spoken to their students. You can make a living trading options. We don't want to poo-poo that.
Yeah.
But what I like about Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. Okay. That there's no one creator that can control it. So you get away from the pump and dump schemes where, all these celebrities tell you to buy it, and then everybody pulls their money out, and you're left there holding the bag. It's the amount of Bitcoin is set. It's 21 million. So they won't inflate the way the central banks have done so with the money supply.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing in popularity and things you can purchase with it. And I always say, I'm a hodler. I buy and hold. I don't trade Bitcoin. I don't stake Bitcoin. Is that sort of thing. So I'm a long-term holder. I'm looking 10, 15 years into the future of Bitcoin. Right.
So would you recommend buying little by little and just hold on to it?
Yes, I dollar cost average. Okay. Don't leave too much on the exchange where you're buying it, because that's one of the things of self-sovereignty, holding your own Bitcoin. But yes, because you decide how much you want to purchase. Yeah. So I'm not saying, okay, base your retirement on Bitcoin. No.
Right.
But individuals should own some, because you're going to learn, again, you start learning about what you own. As you said, you came to the country and you start finding out about financial instruments, because the U.S. is a very different animal about financial instruments. They don't exist. I can't think of too many places that have stuff like we do. Even the Western nations like Canada or England, has quite as many different variants of financial instruments. But as I'm sure, as you started to do things, simply because you bought a share of stock or a share in a mutual fund, you start learning about it. You start reading it. When they sent that prospectus to the house, eventually you sat down and you read some of it. And you said, hey, what does that mean? Okay. Yeah. It does what? What does this mean? Okay. Right. That's the same thing with Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It is different, because I remember, so I had some the accounts in the banks in Europe. Those banks, I was so surprised, even to this day, they just refuse to do anything online. And so for me to even I'm having to call them, and it's so interesting. It's different. I was surprised that even to this day, it's the way that I have to email or I have to call literally to get my money or to transfer my money. So
yes, but even compared to some of the things that we can do with Bitcoin, as far as the movement of money, even the U.S. banks are behind. The technology of moving money is lightning, but there's still artificial constraints on that.
Yeah.
But I do know what you're talking about, because eventually here in the U.S., what opened it up in the U.S. was that one bank started doing it and customers liked it, and the other banks had to catch up. Yeah. It was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, they want to do this. For instance, Zelle. Okay, Zelle came into fruition because the banks saw the popularity of Cash App.
Yeah.
Of Cash App and Venmo. And they were like, hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. we need to get in on that.
So convenient. I love it.
It is.
Yeah. And so if we would touch on really quickly, just briefly, on Bitcoin again, do you recommend not keeping it online, or you recommend, because I know there are ways, from what I remember, And I did buy Bitcoin. I need to actually go back and check, and I still have them, and I'm keeping them, and but it's online. But from what I remember, you can keep it online and offline.
Right. You can keep it. It's called a wallet, and it could be a cold wallet, which has no contact with the internet, except when you actually move your coins onto the wallet.
Yeah.
And then you have what they call hot wallets, which are like software, which is like on your phone or on your computer. So it's just recommended that you just have custody of it. Hot or cold, it's up to you, which is easier. Cold, I consider cold the best.
Yeah.
But you can keep it in a couple of different places, because some people they actually do business in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So they want it. It's a little bit easier when it's still connected to the internet.
Yeah. And then maybe that's where we're still heading towards that. Who knows? Because some companies, I was part of the company that they charged in Bitcoin as well. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's such an interesting topic. That's definitely worth discussing, I think, and maybe we could have another
No problem.
And if our listeners have specific questions or just want to learn more about it, we will post links how to connect with.
Yeah, my link tree. Go to the link tree and pick one of the links. I've got a couple of things about Bitcoin there. So
beautiful. And what is your link tree?
We'll post it's Linktree. I could type it in there for you, but it's Linktree. / the Smart Money Chick. That's all one word.
Beautiful. Yeah. So we'll post a link to it. We'll post a link on YouTube, and we'll post a link on our podcast. And yes, definitely connect with Daphne. She has a lot of knowledge, and I always love our conversations when we talk, because I always learn something new. I love the just putting light into saving versus investments, and making sure we are on top of all of that. Yes, got that. Thank you, Daphne. So we're going to move on to the rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And that's what we usually we do this at the end of our podcast. And I have 5 of those for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
Awesome. So your favorite book name is?
My favorite book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Love it. Beach or mountains?
Oh, beach.
Favorite international destination to visit?
That I've been to, right?
Yeah. Or maybe if you haven't, then you maybe want to go to
Seoul, South Korea.
Okay. Summer or winter?
Oh, summer.
Okay. And last one, things that you have discovered about yourself recently.
I like me.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for
I like what I'm growing into.
Yeah, love that. I love this question because it gets you thinking for a little bit, but it's a little bit deeper, but it's always such a good question to come back to that, and just love your answer. Thank you for playing.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time, Daphne, to be today on this conversation. I love this conversation. It's so timely. We are launching our 3rd book on women, money, and energy of life. That's the name of the book, Women, Money, and Energy of Life.
Great.
Yeah, so definitely check out our website for that. Definitely connect with Daphne Jones. She knows what she's talking about. We're going to post her links and all about her. And with that, I will talk to you soon.